Hello and welcome, race fans. For the final time, I say hello from the starting grid of Red Bull Ring here in Styria. We are ready for the final sprint race of the Cup Series here at this beautiful racing asset, the home of Austrian Grand Prix here. And we again have a beautiful grid of 31 cars on the grid, this time with starting the race from pole position. And again, Marius has been the quickest driver so far over the weekend. So Marius, this time starting from pole position, the final race looks good, right?
Yeah, it looks good. Let's see what happens. I try to drive safe and push every lap, and yeah, let's see. In 25 minutes we know more.
Absolutely, thank you so much. So this is the poleman Marius Eigner starting from the first place behind the wheel of his beautiful KTM X-Bow. Alongside him, take a look at this car again. My favorite, I must admit. This is the Ligier LMP3 car of ARC Bratislava, again driven by Miro Konopka, the team boss, who will be starting from the second place. So it is the front row on the grid, and it's the KTM and Ligier LMP3 car. Behind them, another LMP3 car, number 53. That's the Norma car of Thomas Ambil, and alongside Thomas Ambil, alongside LMP prototype is the red Ferrari. And take a look at this car on the grid, number 488. It is Antonin Herbeck, ready for another race. Previously, we've been following Antonin driving his Pagani Zonda, but since last year already, he is driving this beautiful car. It's almost a retro car for some Ferrari fans, because nowadays on the world stage we've been following Ferrari races with 296 GT3 or Challenge, but this is the previous model, the 4A8, still with V8, still built by Michelotto. So this, for many fans, is the proper Ferrari car. Next row on the grid, it's row number 3, and here we have the Mercedes AMG G2 entered by RTR Projects. Of course, Ondřej Rokos behind the wheel again. So Ondřej will be taking another stint, another 25 minutes of sprint racing here at next to him. This is the KTM of Max, the Austrian, and another beautiful KTM. Look at the carbon fiber livery on this car. I like it so much, and it is very unique way how to enter the car, opening the cockpit like that. We have to clear the grid now, so make sure you are joining us for the final sprint race of the weekend. So one more time, hello and welcome. Good afternoon to all of you joining us live all around the world. This will be the final sprint showdown on a Red Bull Ring, the final race of the weekend if we speak about the GT Cup Series, formerly known as Asset Cup, but for second year in a row it's a GT Cup Series, the Central European Zone Championship in GT car racing, and the grid is so beautiful. We've been down on the grid looking at the cars closely, and as you can see, this time it is the KTM Expo GTX car of Mariusz Eigner starting the race from pole position. Alongside him, the Slovakian racing legend Miro Konopka behind the wheel of his bright yellow Ligier LMP3 car. So it is Austrian alongside French car up in the front row on the starting grid of the second sprint race of the day and of the weekend. Also, yesterday it was the day for endurance, and the race and overall has been won by Mariusz Eigner. Miro Konopka took the class win in D5 class, and he also won the D5 class also earlier today in the first sprint race of the season. And right now this is the main task for both drivers in the front row, to win it again. So Mariusz Eigner goes for the win in GTX class, while Miro Konopka will be chasing down another win in a D5 class with his beautiful yellow Ligier. But behind him it is Thomas Ambil with the normal LMP3 car, so there will be some competition for Miro Konopka, most definitely. So let's get ready, sit back, take your seatbelt, have a coffee, enjoy the race, because this is proper racing Sunday here on a Red Bull Ring. And I believe we are almost ready to start the race. Yes, let's go. We have the green flag in the air and the race is on, with Mariusz Eigner leading the way into the first corner of the race. 25 minutes to go, and what a great start by Dan Antonin Herbeck. Herbeck takes second place behind the wheel of his Ferrari 488 GT3. So this older GT3 Ferrari car has a massive start thanks to Antonin Herbeck, who is here in the second place. Nice job done by this ever-present racer in the Central European Zone Championship. Ondřej Rokos driving his Mercedes just behind him in the third place at the moment. Nice battle between the other Norma in the colors of Yannick Motorsport, but right now it's the battle for second place overall. Good job done by Ondřej Rokos, who takes the second place in the race. This is some great racing shown by Ondřej Rokos behind the wheel of the Mercedes AMG GT2, entered by RTR Project. Good race, good job, but the fight goes on again, and Antonin Herbeck is trying to retake his second place. Nice battle between Ferrari and Mercedes in the first lap of the 25-minute sprint race. And behind them it is Miro Konopka again. He lost some time after the start of the race, but he is gaining up the positions back, and he is moving up in the order. Great job done by the Slovakian racing veteran. Miro Konopka already in third place, but still leading the D5 class, and that's the most important thing for him. So Konopka in a P3 overall, but leading the D5 class ahead of Thomas Ambil, driving his Ducane D08. I previously said it's Norma. Yes, previously it was Norma, but right now we should call it Ducane because of the new ownership of the company. So Thomas Ambil driving his Ducane D08 in second place in D5 behind Miro Konopka. Overall, Miro Konopka in a P3 and Thomas Ambil in P7. So there are I believe 4 cars between Konopka and Ambil, so it's a safe position. 3 cars, I'm sorry, my apology, 3 cars between Konopka and Ambil. So right now it's a safe space for Miro Konopka, who is leading the way in D5 class, and he is there just behind Ondřej Rokos in second place. Well, Ondřej Rokos also had a massive start, very quick first lap, and he is already in second place behind the wheel of his Mercedes AMG GT2 number 294. So good job done by Ondřej Rokos in the opening stages of this race. Mariusz Eigner, meanwhile, still in the lead. And again, he is leading the GTX class, but this time there might be a challenge for Mariusz Eigner. We've been chatting to him on the starting grid, and he said everything is perfect and he is ready for more 25 minutes of racing. But this time this might be a battle for the first place in GTX, because Ondřej Rokos, he looks to me that he wants to chase down Marius Eigner, and he wants to try to fight against Eigner for the first place in GTX class. But now this is a problem for Ondřej Rokos, as he was overtaken by Miro Konopka. So Miro Konopka behind the wheel of his yellow Ligier LMP3 car in second place right now. So again, there is a car between the two top cars in GTX class. Eigner leads, Rokos in second place, but in P3 overall. That's a problem for Ondřej Rokos. He would have to overtake Konopka first to get a chance to fight against Marius Eigner for the first place in a GTX class. So right now, again, a safe space for Marius Eigner, who is leading the way, and he is starting to pull away from the rest of the field. Already 2 seconds between Marius Eigner and Miro Konopka. So again, this is some serious pace shown by Marius Eigner, the home hero, the local Austrian racer, who is just doing a brilliant job around the track. Antonín Herbeck in P4 and also in third place in a GTX class. So Antonín Herbeck wants to be in contact with Ondřej Rokos, because there could be a direct battle for the second place in GTX class, but also he needs to look back and he needs to watch his mirrors closely, as there is also Viktor Mraz behind Antonín Herbeck driving his KTM X12 GTX. So these are the two cars racing each other in GTX class. Antonín Herbeck in third place within the class, ahead of Viktor Mraz in P4 in GTX, and behind Viktor Mraz it's another KTM driven by Max Grip in a fifth place in a GTX. So these are 3 cars fighting each other, 3 drivers fighting each other within the GTX class. And there was a mistake done by Ondřej Rokos. He was too wide out of the third corner, so it only means that this mistake made the gap between his Mercedes and the Ferrari smaller. So still, Antonín Herbeck feels a chance for fighting Ondřej Rokos for second place. But if we speak about the GTX class, we also need to speak about Denis Vašek, because he did not take part in qualifying, which means he was down there back on the grid, starting actually, I'm not sure actually what was the starting position of Denis Vašek, but yes, he was very last on the grid. Denis Vašek has started the race from P31, as he didn't take part in the qualifying, which means again he needs to find his way through the field, just as he did in the first sprint race earlier today. And Denis Vašek, I told you, for me he was the man of the race, because from the very last place on the grid he managed to finish in P3 in the GTX class, and he overtook Antonín Herbeck in his Ferrari in the very last lap of the race. And I believe that Denis Vašek has a strong motivation to do the very same thing also in this race. Still 18 minutes to go, and Denis Vašek is already in a 9th place and also in P7 within the GTX class. Johannes Duisik, driving KTM Expo GTX, is there ahead of him. There is a small margin between these two drivers, so the next target for Vašek is Johannes Duisik, as he wants to finish on the podium in his class again. But also look at the situation here. For some reason Miro Konopka is just closely behind Marius Eigner. There was a big gap, but now Konopka overtakes Marius Eigner, which means that Miro Konopka leads the race in overall standings. Also he leads the race in D5 class, and that's the most important thing for him, of course. So either Marius Eigner did a mistake, or he had some problem to his car, but now he's back up to speed, and this is a great fight between Aigner and Konopka, but Aigner's KTM is just much more quicker on the straight, climbing up into the third corner, so Aigner again in the lead of the race. Still a safe space for Marius Aigner, still leading the GTX class. No worries, no troubles, no problems for the home racer, for the Austrian behind the wheel of his KTM. So Aigner back in the lead. Maybe the problem was some kind of traffic ahead of Aigner, or he just made a mistake and went too far off the track in one of the corners. It would be quite possible to do so in the third corner, because you have to do some heavy braking after climbing up the hill, but still Aigner under pressure in the technical sections of the track. Konopka is quicker. He has more downforce, because of course he is driving the LMP car, the Le Mans prototype. It's only LMP free car, but still it has a lot of downforce. And Miro Konopka is using that in this race with 15 minutes to go. Much better top speed for Aigner on the straight. This section will be a disadvantage for Miro Konopka, because in this climb up the hill he just can't use the slipstream behind the KTM, because the KTM is pulling away, as you can see. But again, Aigner just went too far, and Konopka might has a better exit. Meanwhile, we do have a yellow flag at the turn number 1. It's the KTM GT4 spinning around and standing directly at a bit out. But yes, here it is. It's number 841. That's Franz Leitner from GT4 class. But he gets going again, so it looks fine. And it was just driver's mistake. No contact, no accident. He just spun around at the exit from the corner number 1. So it was just a short yellow period, and we are going green again. This was the point of view of Viktor Mraz, still in 5th place, driving his KTM Expo GTX car, sitting in 4th place in GTX standings, still behind Antonin Herbeck in his Ferrari. 0.8 of a second between Antonin Herbeck and Viktor Mraz in 4th and in 5th place respectively. It's a 3rd and 4th place within the GTX class. Max Grip behind them, and where is Denis Waszek? 6th place in GTX, P8 overall. Right now he is chasing down Thomas Ambil, driving his Ducane D08. Thomas Ambil is the closest opponent for Miro Konopka in his fight for the class win in D5 class. Konopka again ahead of Aigner, or he was ahead of him last time around. So last time around, when these cars crossed the finish line on the main straight, Miro Konopka was there in the 1st place ahead of Marius Aigner. But I do believe that this situation may be again more and more dramatic, so let's wait and see. It's not a crucial fight, of course, because Konopka is going in D5 class and Aigner is there in GTX class, and we do not have the overall standings podium, so this is just fine for both drivers. But anyway, they are still having fun racing each other, I can tell you that. So we do have two Porsche cars here, followed by the KTM Expo GT4. And this is Renan Khan, I believe, ahead of Sebastian Selinsek, because Renan Khan should be driving the Porsche 991 GT3 Cup, and Sebastian Selinsek should be there in the Porsche Cayman GT4. Yes, I'm correct. So this is P19, P20 and P21. Renan Khan in P19, just ahead of Sebastian Selinsek. For Renan Khan, it's the 4th place in a GTC class at the moment, and Sebastian Selinsek is just trying to get closer to Dobroslav Karnik, again leading the GT4 class. Yes, Dobroslav Karnik won the first race in a GT4, and now he is leading this class again. He is there in 18th place overall. And there is a quite decent gap between his Mercedes and the Porsche Cayman GT4 of Sebastian Selinsek. So no drama here in a GT4 class at the moment. It's a very good situation for Dobroslav Karnik right now with 10 minutes and 25 seconds to go. Again, going quickly with Viktor Mraz on the back straight, heading into the 4th corner of Red Bull Ring. Still Antonín Herbek ahead of Viktor Mraz. The Slovakian driver can see his Czech opponent, but he just can't to get close enough for overtaking. Meanwhile, I had a chance of seeing the battle between Konopka and Aigner, and yeah, Konopka just overtook the Austrian on track, so good job done by Miro Konopka, who is in the traffic now, and overtaking one of the older Porsche Cup cars back in the standings. And of course Miro Konopka knows very well how to manage the traffic, because that's what he has been doing for many years already. We've been following Miro Konopka in many endurance championships, mostly sitting behind the wheel of a prototype car in recent years. Not only behind the wheel of LMP3, but also behind the wheel of the LMP2 car. So he just knows what to do when he gets into traffic, and actually he can be a very effective driver, speaking of that. So this is the advantage for Miro Konopka, being in the traffic and being able to overtake the slower cars quickly to not lose unnecessary amount of time. And you can see that he made the gap between him and Aigner bigger again. So Konopka on fire here. Last time around, Miro Konopka was the quickest on the racetrack, and right now it is the fastest lap of the race so far, set by Miro Konopka, 1:30.3. He was much quicker than Marius Aigner last lap around, and the gap between him and Aigner is more than 2.5 seconds now. So very good job done by Miro Konopka. Aigner is there in second, and more traffic ahead. The blue flags are being shown to the slower drivers. Well, blue flags are a big topic this weekend if we speak about endurance racing in general, because yesterday the season of GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup has started on Paul Ricard. It was the classic format of 6 hours race, which was won by Come To Your Racing. Aston Martin won the GT3, driven by Mattia Giudi, Marco Sorensen and Nicky Thiem. But why am I talking about blue flags? That was the main topic for the other Aston Martin, which was also entered by Come To Your Racing and was driven also by the Formula 1 driver Lance Stroll and his teammates Roberto Merhi and Mari Boya, and especially Roberto Merhi was just ignoring the blue flags. Most of the stints he spent behind the wheel. So the car of Stroll, Merhi and Boya has been given multiple time penalties and finished the race way down the order. Not a good GT3 debut for Lance Stroll yesterday on Paul Ricard. But back to Austria, here we are on Red Bull Ring for some more sports car action. And there was a great battle between Andrei Rokos and Antonin Herbeck, because Antonin Herbeck chased down Andrei Rokos, and there was an overtaking attempt from Antonin Herbeck. He wasn't successful yet, but for a moment there was a very close contact between Andrei Rokos and Antonin Herbeck, but still Rokos in third place, keeping himself in a second place within GTX class. Herbeck behind him in a B3 in a GTX. So far so good for both drivers, both being on the class podium currently, with 5 minutes to go. Still, there is a danger behind them. Again, Denis Vashek is doing everything he can to chase down the rest of the GTX field, and he just desperately wants to be on the podium again after the start from 31st place on the grid. From the very last place on the grid, he is in a 7th place at the moment. So again, great racing from Denis Vashek. At this time, I'm not so sure if he will end up on the podium again. Next target for Denis Vashek in this race is Max Grip, and with only 4 minutes to go, there is a relatively big gap between him and Grip, because there are 4 seconds between these two drivers right now. So I don't think it's possible for Vashek to be on the podium in GTX again. Of course, anything can happen in the world of racing. After the big Toyota heartbreak in Le Mans a decade ago, I'm confident that you can see absolutely everything in racing, but still, with 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go, I don't see a big chance here for Denis Vashek to be on the podium in GTX class again. Following Antonin Herbeck and the other cars through the first corner again. I was talking to Antonin Herbeck earlier today after the first race, and he told me that he still possesses his legendary Pagani Zonda. Of course, he is still the only one who has the racing version of Pagani Zonda, and it was just delightful to watch him racing this car. So he still has it in his private collection, but he doesn't want to race it again. Of course, it's a very rare piece of art, I would say, and after some years of great fun on circuits, Antonin Herbeck just wants to keep his treasure safe at home. And I believe we can't blame him for that. Viktor Mraz finding his way through the traffic, while we have the last 1 minute and 30 seconds to go here on Red Bull Ring. And Miro Konopka as the most dominant driver of the second sprint race of the weekend. 7.5 seconds between him and Marius Eigner, so this is very good performance shown by the Slovakian racing legend. Racing in Le Mans multiple times, winning the championship title in Asian Le Mans Series, taking part in World Endurance Championship. That's everything we can say about this amazing career of Miro Konopka. Of course, I believe that many of you are familiar with his team. A lot of great guys from Czechia and Slovakia also working for Miro, while he is racing everywhere around the world. .30 seconds to go, so this is the last lap of the race. Last time around, Red Bull Ring is going Miro Konopka and the other drivers in the race. More than 8 seconds between Konopka and Eigner, and I believe again it will be a happy day for both drivers as they are going to win their classes. There is a huge difference between Konopka and Thomas Ambil driving the second placed car in a D5 class. That's the Decane D08 in a B9 overall. So Miro Konopka has everything in his own hands for the last sector of this Formula 1 and MotoGP racetrack. Again, the beautiful view of the bull sculpture, another site which is making this place world famous here in Styria. So, last 2 corners for Miro Konopka, and here we are for the final time this weekend on the main straight of Red Bull Ring, and Miro Konopka takes the checkered flag and wins the sprint race of GT Cup Series number 2 on Sunday here in Austria. What a great race done by Miro Konopka and his team ARC Bratislava. So Miro Konopka wins the race in a D5 class. Behind him it is Markus Eigner winning the race in a GTX class, and we are waiting for rest of the field to take the checkered flag. Ondřej Rokos in 3rd place overall, which means he takes the 2nd place in GTX. Antonín Herbeck this time, he can go on the podium because he is 3rd in a GTX. Behind him other 2 GTX cars of Viktor Mraz and Max Grip. Denis Vašek in 7th place, finishing P6 in GTX. Johannes Duisik in a P8. Thomas Ambil in a 9th place, taking 2nd place in DT5 class. That's the 2nd driver behind Konopka. Raini Sampl in a 10th, also in P8 within GTX. And now we have to wait for the other drivers. Alex Lusty in a P11, also in P3 in a D5 class, driving his beautiful Praga R1. Thomas Schlach in 12th place, also winning the GTC 1 class. Franz Lamer in 13th position, winning the GTC class. Rupert Weisenlerner in a P14, also taking 2nd place in GTC. Bob Bau in a P15, also taking 2nd place in GTC 1. Petr Koukola taking 4th place in a D5. Herbert Karer in third place in a GTC. Dobroslav Karník winning the GT4 class ahead of Nikolaus Duisik and Sebastian Selinsek. Also Robert Brendley took the finish line to the checkered flag and he won the GTO class ahead of Arthur Bruckner. So we have 30 cars in the finish, and that's it for the second and final race of the GT Cup Series on Sunday. In total we had 3 races, the endurance yesterday and 2 sprint races today, and here is the happy guy, Miro Konopka, saying thank you to his teammates, including Martin Schlaufer and Marko Fondrek, so greetings to them. And it was a great race done by Erasi Bratislava. So the season will continue next time, and I must say thank you so much for joining us here on Red Bull Ring.